This happened just last night. I work at a small accounting firm downtown, and I'd stayed late to finish some reports before the deadline. By the time the office started emptying out, it was just me and one other guy, Tom, from the next cubicle over. Tom was a quiet guy, dependable, always the first to clock in and the last to complain. We chatted a bit while we worked. Small talk about coffee brands, deadlines, the usual kind of tired after-hours conversation. But after a while, he stopped replying. I figured he'd just dozed off. Then I heard him mumbling. At first, I couldn't make out what he was saying. Then the words became clear. Thank you, thank you, thank you. He kept repeating it in a soft, almost rhythmic whisper. It made me smile, honestly. I thought maybe he was having one of those harmless, talking dreams. So I let him be and went back to typing. By around 11, I decided to call it a night. I got up to use the restroom, stretched a bit, and when I came back, Tom's desk was empty. His computer was still on, his coffee half full, chair pushed neatly in. I figured he must have finished and slipped out quietly. It was late, after all. As I left the building, I noticed flashing lights down the street, a police cruiser and an ambulance parked by the intersection. Someone must have had an accident, but I was too tired to look. I just wanted to go home. The next morning, during our daily meeting, the department head came in looking pale. He cleared his throat and said, I have some sad news. Tom was in a car accident yesterday evening, around 7. He didn't make it. I froze. 7? I asked. But I didn't say the rest out loud. Because I'd been working beside him after 7, all the way till 11. That night, I went to his family's house for the vigil. His wife looked exhausted, his parents hollow. The framed photo of him on the table was the same friendly, easygoing guy I'd sat next to almost every day. When the service was over, I drove home in silence, trying to make sense of it. If Tom had died at 7, then who was sitting next to me until 11? And why had he been whispering thank you over and over? I don't know if he was talking to someone or something else. But sometimes, when I stay late at the office now, the lights flicker near his old desk. And if I listen closely, through the hum of the air conditioner and the clicking of my keyboard, I swear I can still hear that same soft voice saying, thank you. It happened a few months ago, on one of those long nights when I stayed late at the office to finish a deadline. Everyone else had gone home hours earlier. The whole floor was silent except for the hum of the lights and the faint buzz of the air vents. Around 10 p.m., I took a break to use the restroom down the hall. The building was dim, half the lights turned off to save power. The floor tiles echoed every step I took. When I finished washing my hands, I suddenly heard it. A soft click. One of the stall doors behind me had just locked. That might not sound strange, except for one thing. I was the only one left on the entire floor. I froze, staring at the row of stalls in the mirror. No movement, no sound. For a few seconds, I told myself it must have been the metal contracting, or maybe I'd imagined it, but the silence that followed felt wrong. Too heavy, too expectant. I didn't check. I didn't even dry my hands. I just left. I went straight back to my office, locked the door behind me, and grabbed my phone to call security downstairs. Before I could dial, the doorknob rattled. Click, click. Someone was trying to open it. At first, it was slow, like someone testing the handle. Then, it got faster, twisting violently, shaking the whole door. My voice came out smaller than I expected. Who's there? No answer. The metal creaked, the handle jerking back and forth like it would snap. I backed away until I hit my desk, heart hammering. And then, It stopped. Silence. A long, suffocating silence. I waited maybe 30 seconds before moving. I grabbed my keys, stuffed my laptop into my bag, and decided I was done for the night. When I called the guard desk, no one picked up. So I told myself to grow a spine, unlocked the door, and bolted. The hallway felt colder than before. Every light seemed dimmer. I turned right toward the elevators, pressing the button over and over. When I glanced back down the corridor, I swore I saw something move inside my office. A faint shadow slipping toward the door. The elevator didn't come. The little screen stayed frozen on 6. That's when I heard it. The sound of the stairwell door bursting open 2 floors above. Then footsteps. Heavy, fast, pounding down the metal stairs. Coming closer. I didn't wait to see who or what it was. I tore down the stairwell, skipping steps, my footsteps echoing wildly. Every time I turned a landing, I could hear it following closer, closer, matching my pace. When I hit the ground floor, I nearly slammed into the security guard by the front desk. He looked startled. "Hey, you okay?" I gasped out something about someone chasing me. He frowned and said, "That's impossible. I already did my rounds 20 minutes ago. Everyone was gone. You're the last one in the building." I looked back at the stairwell door. It was still swinging open, but there was no one there. I quit working late after that. And even now, when I'm the last one in the office and the lights start to hum just a little too loud, I keep catching myself glancing at the door, waiting to hear that soft, familiar click. A few years ago, my company went through a strict cost-cutting phase. They enforced a new rule: no overtime lights. If you stayed late, you could only keep your own desk lamp on. Everything else had to stay dark. That night, I was the only one left in the office. It was past 11, and the entire floor was a sea of black screens and empty chairs, my small desk light the only glow in sight. I was halfway through a report when I heard it. A phone ringing. It was coming from across the room, the opposite department's desk cluster. At first, I ignored it. I didn't want to get roped into something outside my team. But the ringing didn't stop. It just kept going. 10 seconds. 30. A full minute. Finally, I gave in, got up, and walked through the dark to answer it. "Hello?" The line crackled for a second. Then a man's voice, young, polite, said, "Hi, I'm with the sales department. I'm supposed to deliver a quote we promised your division. My manager told me to drop it off tonight." I frowned. At this hour, the office is closed. He laughed awkwardly. "Yeah, I know, but I'm already at the station nearby. If I don't hand it over tonight, my boss will kill me." I was about to tell him to come back tomorrow when the line suddenly went dead. I sighed, hung up, and went back to my desk. Half an hour later, the phone rang again. Same number. "Sorry," he said breathlessly. "I think I took the wrong turn. I'm a little lost." I checked the clock. It was nearly midnight. My irritation was starting to outweigh my concern. "Look, I missed my last train waiting on this report," I snapped. "Just bring it in tomorrow." He sounded embarrassed. "I'm sorry. Really sorry. I'll figure it out." Then he hung up again. I glanced out the window. The streets below were completely empty. Not a car, not a single person. 10 minutes later, the phone rang for the 3rd time. "I'm at the building entrance," he said cheerfully. "Could you tell security to let me in?" That didn't make sense. The night guard always called up when someone arrived. Still, I dialed the security desk on the 1st floor. The guard sounded confused. "Nobody's here," he said. I've been watching the cameras. No one's outside." Before I could respond, my phone buzzed again. Another call, same number. "Thanks for letting me in," the voice said. "I'm in the elevator now. I'll be right up." My blood ran cold. The guard had just told me there was no one there. I stared at the office entrance, the elevator doors faintly visible in the darkness. Everything was still, silent. Then came another call. "I'm here," the man said. His tone had changed, calmer, almost happy. "I'm at the front desk." I swallowed hard. "Who is this? What the hell are you doing?" No answer. Just static. Then the line clicked dead. Something inside me broke. I grabbed my bag, shut off my lamp, and bolted. As I passed through the dark cubicles, phones started ringing. Not just one, but all of them. Each desk phone lighting up one after another, ringing in sequence, like a wave rolling across the office toward me. I didn't stop to check the front desk. I ran straight to the stairwell and down 4 flights to the lobby. When I burst out onto the street, the security guard was standing outside, startled. He said, "What's wrong? You look like you saw a ghost." I wanted to tell him what happened, but when I turned back toward the building, all the office lights on my floor were glowing. Every single one. Even now, I don't know what to think. Maybe it was a prank, maybe some glitch in the phone system. But sometimes, when I stay late at another office, I swear I can still hear it. A phone ringing in the dark, and a polite voice on the other end saying, "Thanks for letting me in." My first job out of college was at a small design firm that loved to overwork people. Late nights were normal. One night, it was just me and 2 senior coworkers, Mark and Hasegawa, finishing up a project long past midnight. The office was quiet, just the hum of computers and the soft click of keyboards. That's when I heard it. A woman's voice, soft and polite, right behind me. "Good job tonight." I answered automatically, "Thanks, you too," before realizing there wasn't supposed to be anyone else there. Mark looked up. "Who are you talking to?" I blinked. Someone just said, "Good job. Didn't you hear that?" He shook his head. "No one's here but us." Then Hasegawa, the oldest of the 3, spoke up quietly. I heard it too. He didn't look surprised, just tired. Then he said something that sent a chill down my spine. "She's been here for a while." He told us that sometimes, late at night, he'd see a woman wandering between our office and the one next door. During the day, she looked normal, just another face in the crowd of office workers. But at night, he said, her expression changed. "She looks sad," he said, "like she doesn't realize she's still here." Mark laughed it off, but I could tell even he didn't like the way the lights flickered overhead. Then, as if on cue, we all turned toward the small interior window that looked into the neighboring department. That office was dark, completely black. No one had been in there for hours. But the copy machine was on. It hummed, lights flickering, spitting out sheets of paper one after another. We all stood frozen. Hasegawa muttered, "Don't talk to her if you hear her again." But when we went back to our desks, I couldn't help it. Half joking, half nervous, I whispered, "Good job tonight." Immediately, right behind me, close enough to feel her breath, a voice whispered back, "You too." I didn't sleep that night. A few days later, we were out drinking after work, and I asked Hasegawa what he meant, how much he'd actually seen. He said, "She looks different depending on the hour. During the day, she was pale, quiet, but harmless. At night, though," his voice dropped. "Her face changes. Her brows twist up like she's in pain. Her skin goes gray, and something dark seeps from her nose and mouth. The veins swell around her eyes. But she still smiles. She still says, "Good job." Ever since then, I've heard her more times than I can count. Always the same gentle tone, always after midnight. I've never seen her face, and maybe that's what keeps me sane. Because I can't shake the feeling that if I ever turn around fast enough to see her, the voice won't be behind me anymore. It'll be staring me in the eyes. I used to work at a small design agency that prided itself on passion. That was their word for overwork. We were understaffed, switching software, juggling impossible deadlines. Everyone looked half dead by Friday. One night, around 2 a.m., I heard a sound from the copy room paper feeding through the mechanical whir click of the color copier. I went to check it out. One of the senior designers, Paul, a guy who'd been calm and composed no matter how bad things got, was standing there, trembling. The copier was spitting out page after page. Every single sheet had his face on it. At first, it looked normal. Then, with each new copy, the image got worse. His face seemed thinner, his eyes darker. The skin tone shifted from pale to gray to a sickly green. By the last page, his eyes were closed, his mouth slightly open, like he was dead. He was hospitalized the next day, brain hemorrhage. Miraculously, he survived, but the doctor said he'd never handle stress again. His wife told us something strange later. While he was in a coma, their dog suddenly died. Moments later, Paul woke up. A few weeks later, it was my turn to hit the wall. I was working 18-hour days, sleeping under my desk, running on caffeine and panic. One night, my computer froze in the middle of a project. I remember pressing Control plus Alt plus Del over and over, whispering, "Come on, not now." Then the screen flickered. When it came back, every line of text in my file had changed. All of it. Just one word, repeated over and over. Ha ha ha, ha ha ha, ha ha, filling the entire screen. I backed away from the desk, my skin crawling. The sound of my own heartbeat was louder than the office hum. By dawn, I was at the emergency clinic. They ran tests, checked my vitals. The doctor looked at me like he didn't know how to say it. "Your organs are showing signs of severe stress. Functionally, your body looks decades older than you are." I was 30. They admitted me for exhaustion. I stayed 2 months. I recovered, mostly. But sometimes, when I'm alone in a quiet office, I still think about that copier. And about Paul. And about the laughter filling my screen. I wonder if it was ever just a machine glitch, or something else. Something trying to warn us. Maybe all that overwork, all that exhaustion, wasn't just killing us. Maybe the machines were just showing us what we were already turning into. This story isn't mine. It happened to my former coworker, Ben. He told me about it one winter night when we both stayed late at the office, and I swear I could see his hands trembling as he spoke. Ben was one of those people who never left work unfinished. That night, he was the last one there. He'd locked every door, turned on every light, and settled in to finish some drawings for a deadline. He wasn't feeling well, had a cold, maybe the flu, so he took some medicine and decided to rest his head on the desk for a few minutes. That's when it started. Half asleep, he felt someone standing behind him. Not moving, just there. He said the air changed, the hum of the heaters, The faint noise from the street outside, everything went completely silent. Like sound itself had been sucked out of the room. Then came the smell. Rotten food, wet mold, something old and sickly sweet. He tried to lift his head, but his body wouldn't move. He couldn't even breathe right. In his mind, he kept repeating, "It's just the cold medicine. It's just a dream. It's not real." Then, right next to his ear, a voice whispered, low, cold, and unfamiliar, "Why do you keep talking to yourself?" And then came the laughter. Soft at first, then warped, like it was echoing from inside his own head. That broke him. He forced his toes to move, fought against the weight holding him down until he finally jolted upright, gasping for air. The office was empty. Every light still on. The door still locked. He told himself it was sleep paralysis, a hallucination, anything to make it make sense. But then he noticed the mirror. He kept a small standing mirror on his desk, the kind used to check his tie before meetings. And in the reflection, there was someone behind him. A shape. A figure standing over his chair, both hands resting on his shoulders. He said the hands were pale and cracked, with dirt or dried blood caked under the fingernails. The fingers were long, too long, and something black and wet was oozing from under the nails. Tiny white worms squirmed through the cracks in the skin. The smell hit him again, stronger this time, sharp and sweet and wrong. He didn't look back. He didn't scream. He just grabbed his laptop and ran. He didn't even turn off the lights. After that night, he refused to stay at the office past sundown. But the nightmares followed him home. He said he dreamed from a third-person view, watching himself asleep at his desk while a faceless woman stood behind him. Every time he woke up, he could still smell that same rot. And one night, right as he opened his eyes, he felt something cold slide into his mouth. He swore he could feel the worms crawling down his throat. He bought charms, went to church, nothing worked. Then, last month, the firm moved to a new office, closer to the station, bigger, more modern. Half the rent of the old place. Ben says since the move, the nightmares stopped. No whispers, no smell. But every time he mentions it, he gets this look, like he's trying to convince himself it's over. And sometimes, late at night, when the lights flicker and we smell something faintly sweet in the hall, we both wonder the same thing. Why was the new rent so cheap? And what, if anything, was left behind in the old office?